All right, Shabbos, say good morning. Good morning. Let us begin. Baruch Hashem, an incredible, beautiful, wonderful, holy, and uplifting day of Daf ahead of us. Amir Hashem, begin by thanking all of our sponsors. To thank our Talmud Torah sponsor for the month of Nisan, Haba Alin Latova, Sa'id and Simehikin, to show their Akaras Hatov to Hashem for all of his Nisim and Niflaos. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeem all of our hostages and bring complete Hatzlacha to Eretz Yisrael and Am Yisrael. Amen. Our week of learning sponsors, Paul and Kathy Pollack, in memory of Paul's father, Shmuel ben Zechariah, and great-grandmother, Cyril Bas Dov, who are both nifter on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, all of the Neshama Slav and Aliyah, the family in Nechama, and Halavai Meretz Hashem, our hostages should come home b'shalom and b'karov, and our soldiers should be successful b'chol ma'aseh yadehem. Well, so with that, let us begin. A lot to do today. Baruch Hashem. Today's daf is Mem Beis 42, and we are picking up Meretz Hashem on Mem Aleph Amud Beis 41b. 41b, and we are picking up Ulamanda Amar Shlichos Yad Tzricha Chisara. So it is 2, 4, 6, 8 lines up from the bottom of the daf. So just to reorient ourselves a little bit, remember we left off yesterday with not left off, we spent the bulk of yesterday on an incredibly dramatic machlokes. The machlokes as to whether or not shlichos yad tzricha chisaron, when you misappropriate, when a shaliach, or I should say, not a shaliach, a shomer, goes ahead and watches over an item and then intends to misappropriate it. I think the terminology we used for yesterday was, does misappropriation require diminution or not? In other words, in order to be chai for shlichos yad, do you actually have to use up some of the item, or just is simply taking the item and being ready to misappropriate it, is that enough to create liability? So that was our machlokes. So the Gemara was, remember again, we're speaking about the fact that shlichos yad itself is mentioned 3 times. Once by shomer chinam, once by shomer sachar, and once by shoel. So now the Gemara says, to close out the sugya, Uleman damer shlichos yad tzricha chisaron, and according to the opinion that holds that in order to be chai for shlichos yad, you mamish have to diminish the item. Hani tarti shlichos yad lamali. So why do I need shlichos yad to be mentioned, both by shomer sachar and by shomer chinam? To which the Gemara says, number 1, chadash lo tomer dayo lava min adin lios kinidon. So first of all, number 1, in order not to apply dayo, this really is again from we saw this in yesterday's daf. Otherwise, you would have thought that halacha lemaisa, perhaps shomer chinam, shomer sachar, should be capped. That's what dayo does. Dayo caps things, and they should make it like shoel. That was you saw yesterday. V'idach lechidisanyon. The other mention is to teach us the following halacha: V'nikra balabayis el elokim l'shvua. So the pasuk says the balabayis will come, bringing the shomer to din, that requires the shomer ultimately to go ahead and take a shvua. So the Gemara says, Ata omer l'shvua, o eino ela l'din. How do you know that it means shvua? Maybe it means l'din. I've also take a quick look at Rashi. See Rashi, the shvua? Rashi says, it's about, 10, 12 lines on the bottom. The shvua. So the Gemara says, ve'hechi ka'amar. Ve'hechi ka'amar. Im lo yimatzei kama sha'amar she'nigneva. Elohud nignava. So we'll say, so remember again, this is talking about a shomer chinam that lies, right? He says that the object was stolen, but in fact it turns out that he stole it himself. So the lashon of the pasuk is v'nikrava balabayis elalukim, which is lashon of shvua. So watch this. So you might have thought v'hu kvar nikrav eladayin l'shvua v'nishpal l'shakav v'achar kach bo edim asher yishun adan yishalim kefal. So remember again, we'll say this is the unique halacha. We referenced this again yesterday, which is that if you have a shomer chinam claims that the object was stolen, then remember again, what's the halacha by shomer chinam? By nignava avdo, what's the halacha? He's pater. Let's say it turns out, however, and he swears to that effect that it was stolen. Then what happens? It turns out that he himself stole it. So what's the halacha? He pays kefil. So listen to this. This is what the Gemara says. You might have thought, right? V'nikra ba'alabais came back to the Gemara. The shvua. The only time that a shomer chinam is chayiv kefil if he went ahead and stole the object is if he swore to that effect. Ata omer l'shvua eno ela l'din. Maybe not. Who's to say he requires a shvua? Maybe halacha l'maisa it's enough even if he never took a shvua, but rather he made this claim in Beis Din, and then witnesses showed up in Beis Din to discredit the claim. Maybe that should make him chayiv in kef. I'll look at Rashi for just a moment. So the Gemara says, Ata omer kreva l'shvua o eina ala kreva l'din shemisha shatan bebeis din nignava Afa pi shalom nishba yishalem kefal ba'edim. In other words, how do you know that the shomer chinim is chayiv kefal if witnesses show up after he swore? Maybe even if he didn't swear, but witnesses showed up and discredit his claim. Maybe halacha l'maisa is going to be chayiv in that case as well. To which the Gemara said, "Nemra shlichos yad lamata, v'ne'amar shlichos yad lamala." So we'll say it says ultimately again shlichos yad in both of these situations. So the Gemara says, "Nemra shlichos yad lamata, ma lahalon l'shvua, afkan l'shvua." So halacha l'maisa, just like in the previous context, v'nikra v'balabais el elokim means shvua. So too over here by shomer chinam, ultimately, it means shavua as well, and it teaches me that a shomer chinam who said that the object was stolen, swore to that effect, and then it turns out that he himself stole it, would be chayiv kefal only if he swore and was then discredited by witnesses. Good. We'll say that brings to an end this sugya. So how do we paskin? We'll say this is big stuff. This is big stuff. Does shlichos yad require chisaron or not? Does misappropriation require diminution or not? So we'll say here it is. The Rambam in Hilchos Gzela Va'aveda, Perek Gimel Halacha Yud Aleph says as follows: Hasholeach yad bepikadon. If a shomer goes ahead and literal lashon stretches out his hands by a pikadon, misappropriation. So what's going to skip a little bit? He says Zinasis Hari Ze Gazlon V'Nischai Ba'anasav. So we'll say once the shaliach goes ahead and misappropriates the item, he is a thief. Now we'll say, so remember we spoke about this yesterday. What's the difference between shlichos yad and gezel? Gezel means it's my intention. I'm the shomer. It's my intention from the beginning. I'm taking this for myself. What's shlichos yad? Let's take a little bit. Right? There's a barrel of wine. I don't plan on stealing the barrel of wine. That would be terrible. What am I going to do? I'm going to take a glass or two or five, right? But I'm literally skimming a little bit off the top, but I'm not stealing it for myself. The Rambam says, that's nice. That's a wonderful rationalization. Shlichos yad is gezel. Shlichos yad is theft. And therefore, again, the moment that your intention is to misappropriate in any way is the moment that you are a gazlan, a thief. They will say, however, let's say intention to misappropriate is not theft. So which we knew already beforehand, right? I see the barrel, I'd say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take wine from that barrel for myself, but I didn't do anything yet. So intention to misappropriate is not misappropriation. Here we go. Umishalach yad nischayev bo, afa pi shalo chaser mimenu klum, ela natal hapikadon mimakom lamakom bershuso, kidei l'shloach bayad, hare ze chayev. Sheshlichos yad einot tzricha chisaron. So I'll say the Rambam paskins that halacha l'maisa, as soon as you pick up that barrel, with the intention to go ahead and use some of it for yourself, even if you haven't actually used anything for yourself, that is called shlichos yad, and you are chayiv like a thief. Why? Because shlichos yad does not require chisaron, does not require diminution. So I will say, so this is actually very interesting and nuanced halacha. So on one hand, shlichos yad misappropriation does not require diminution. On the other hand, you need an action. It's not called shlichos yad if you don't do something, right? So in other words, just thinking you're going to misappropriate does not go ahead and make you chayiv. So on one hand, you don't have to diminish the object, but you have to do something. What's an example of doing something? Lifting up the barrel of wine, moving it from this corner into that corner with the intention that this is where I'm going to siphon off the wine from it. So the act of moving it. So again, cognition is not enough to make you chayiv for misappropriation. On the other hand, you don't need diminution for misappropriation, but you do need a maisa, you do need an action. So we'll say, so bottom line, the Rambam paskins, shlichos yad, ina tzricha chisaron. Beautiful. Let's go weiter. We'll say, great sugya ahead of us today. Says the Mishnah, hamafkin mos etzo chavero. 42b. So we'll see, here we go. I deposit money with my friend. So again, I'm giving him money to watch over it. What's the halacha? So tzara and bevshin lachar. So we'll say, see now, we are focusing on the shaliach. I gave Ruvain money to watch for me. Ruvain took the money. He went ahead and he wrapped it up. Vevshin lachorov, and he slung it over his back. Flung it. slung it over his back. Oh, shemasram libno ulebitu aktanim, or he gave it over to his children, his minor children, right? These young children. V'na'al b'fneim shelo karai, and I will say he did not put in place the proper measures to guard those children. So in other words, he went ahead and he gave it to his kids, but he did not go ahead and set up the proper measures to watch over the kids. So what's the halacha? And I will say, obviously, something happened to the money. What's the halacha? Chayiv shelo shimer kederech hashomrim. Reuven is chayiv. Why? Because he did not watch the money in accordance with the normal manner of shomrim. Okay. I will say, so that's two cases there. Number one, taking the money, slinging it over my back. That's number one. And number two, giving it to Reuven, giving it to his kids without watching the kids properly. Good. Chayiv for anything happens to the money. So we'll say, so this is actually a general halach. However, if I deposited money with Reuven, and Reuven did what he was supposed to do, and watched the money in the appropriate way, but nevertheless something occurred, in that case he is pater. Beautiful. Let's go. So bishlam akulu shalosh shimir kedach hashomrim elat sarin vev shilan la'achorav my hava leilame avad. So the Gemara says, okay, let's analyze this. I understand the second case. Right? I understand the second case where I deposit money with Reuven. Reuven gives it over to his young kids, and he does not create the proper shmira, the proper guarding or watching for his kids. So that's pshia, that's going to be negligence. I understand why you're chayiv. But what about the first case? I deposit the money with Reuven. Reuven wraps it up, right? Slings it over his shoulder. I don't understand. It sounds pretty good, right? Why? What's wrong with that? What else? I was about to say, if you think about it, in that case, the money's on Reuven's person, right? It's on his body. What else would you like him to do? My havilei avid. Amar Rava is incredible. Amar Rava, Amar Yitzchak, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, "V'tzarta hakesef biyadecha." That will say, so just to give you context, what's the pasuk v'tzarta hakesef biyadecha? Meiser sheni. What's the lachem meiser sheni? Meiser sheni is a tithe that the farmer has to go out and separate. But interestingly enough, who eats meiser sheni? The farmer. It's yours to consume. The only caveat is you have to do so in Yerushalayim. What happens if, halocha l'maisa, you are fortunate enough that you have too much produce to transfer from your home to Yerushalayim? What do? You transfer the sanctity. You essentially redeem the meiser sheni on money. You take the money to Yerushalayim, spend the money on food. That's the pasuk. V'tzarta hakesef biyadecha. So literally, you're going to say, you shall pile, or really bundle the money in your hand. And the rest of the pasuk is, "V'alachta el hamakom asher yivcha Hashem Elokecha bo," and go to the place that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen, i.e. Yerushalayim. So I'll say, now watch this. So I was saying, Rabbi, so the pasuk says, you shall bundle the money in your hand. Afa pishat tzrurin yihye biyadecha. I will say, apparently, there's only one way to properly guard money, and bundling it is not enough, but rather what? It has to be in your hand. It has to be in your hand. So the act of slinging the money over your shoulder, that is not called proper shmira. If you are keeping money on your person, ultimately, again, the way to do so is in your hand. Is in your hand. That's proper shmira. Therefore, in this case over here, because Reuven took the money, put it in a bundle, which is great, but slung it over his shoulder, that is not considered to be an active form of guarding, and therefore, halacha l'maisa, something happens to the money, Reuven is going to be chayav. We'll say a little bit of agarata, not really agarata, but a little bit of some beautiful gemara. So Rabbi Yitzchak, the olam yehei kaspo shel adam matzui biyado. This is very interesting. In general, a person should always have his money available to him. So we'll say this is incredible. This is Gemara dispensing financial advice, telling you that you should have a high ratio of liquidity. You should make sure to have cash. Make sure to have cash available. Shne'emar, v'tzarta kesef biyadecha. Ultimately, again, because the pasuk says you should keep the money bundled in your hand. So we'll say, so if you think Rashi says over here, matzui biyado, second line in Rashi, lo yifkedin alachirim b'makom acher, shim tizdamin lo schora l'schar yehe mezuman lo. So we'll say, just want to point out, Rabbi Yitzchak is literally dispensing financial advice. This is financial advice that you should have your money available in your hand. Why, says Rashi? Let's say there's a good deal. There's a good business opportunity. There's merchandise available for purchase. if all of your money is tied up, now in this case, when he speaks about tied up, he means if my money is deposited with Ruvain, so then Ruvain's somewhere else, I'm not going to have the liquid assets to engage in a business transaction. So therefore, Rabbi Yitzchak says, keep your money liquid. This way, again, you have the ability to do business if you want to. The Gemara says, and he quotes the pasuk of Ma'aser Sheni, that Tzarta hakesef biyadecha. Ultimately, again, it's interesting. They're reading this pasuk almost as a statement, not just for Ma'aser Sheni, but in general. Have money on hand. This way, if opportunity presents itself, you are ready to go. I will say, just thinking about this idea. So, what is Rabbi Yitzchak saying? Rabbi Yitzchak is saying is you should always have your resources readily available. So this way, again, if you want to accomplish something, you have the ability to accomplish. So Rabbi Yitzchak is framing it in terms of money. But I will say it's important to remember, whatever applies to money also applies to all of your other, so to speak, gifts and possessions in life. All of us have incredible kochos, and all of us have incredible abilities. And the yesod in life is keep your abilities in hand. Keep your abilities, keep your kochos ready, so that if the opportunity to go ahead and help in some way, to make a difference in this world in some way presents itself, that you're ready to spring into action. So often we go through life, and we see opportunities to make a difference all around us. But whether we're too busy or just our head is we're not focused, or we're just not even aware or cognizant of all of the personalistic resources we possess, we walk by these opportunities and we don't stop to make a difference. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, Li'olam yehei kaspo shel adam matzi biado. The same way that your money, which represents your material resources, should be in your hands, that you're ready to go ahead, make a difference, transact business. I will say, keep your other life resources ready as well, ready to go. And that way, when the opportunity to make a difference in this world comes along, you are ready to spring into action. Weiter. So Rabbi Yitzchak, incredible Gemaras. Li'olam yashlish adam es ma'osav. So I'll say some more financial advice. Person should diversify. Literally, again, split your money, really invest your money in 3 different ways. Shlish bekarka, 1/3 real estate. Shlish beprakmatya, 1/3 merchandise. Ushlish tachas yado. And maintain 1/3 of your money cash, liquid. So isn't it interesting? 1/3 real estate. So again, that's, I guess, considered to be more like long-term investments. So you should have 1/3 of long-term investments, merchandise, which is much more short-term investments, and liquid capital. This way, again, if opportunity comes along, you're ready to go ahead and invest. We'll say, it's also, you see this theme, it's all Rabbi Yitzchak, but you see this idea of at least in a financial sense, opportunity presents itself all the time. Be prepared for life opportunity. So in a financial sense, make sure you have money on hand so that if a great opportunity presents itself, you're ready to jump into that. But I will say, but it's never just about money. It's about life. It's about life. How many times in life, again, there are so many incredible opportunities that present themselves all of the time. But often I'm just not prepared. Whatever the reason of lack of preparation may be prepared to embrace life's opportunities. Be ready to embrace life's opportunities. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak. We'll say today is Rabbi Yitzchak's day. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak. Ein habracha, listen to this. Ein habracha Metzia el b'davar somin ha'ayin. So this is incredible. That bracha only devolves upon something that is hidden from the eye. So we'll define what this means in just a moment. Look at Rashi for just a second. So, Ein HaBracha, Rashi says, Shemes Barech V'Rabba Me'elav. Bracha, and I will say bracha in this context means there's only the ability for something to amplify and become greater. Like literally, again, we're talking about material bracha over here. It's only the ability for something to become greater and amplified if what? Ela b'davar samin ha'ayin, something that is hidden from the eye. So in other words, bracha, we're talking about material bracha. Material blessing devolves upon something that is not necessarily visible. We'll define it in just a moment. Shnei Amar, Yitzav Hashem. Yitzav Hashem. Itcha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should go ahead. Literally, again, it should give, Hashem will command with you, Es HaBracha Ba'asamecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you bracha Ba'asamecha. Now, we'll say, in this first drasha, it's a little bit of a play on words. Ba'asamecha, Asamecha literally means in your granaries or in your silos. In this context, samui. Samoy, hidden. So let's say, so what does this mean? What does this mean? Let's one more. Tana the Rabbi Shmuel. So Rabbi Shmuel said the same thing. Bracha only devolves upon something that the eye doesn't see. Shene'emar Yitzav Hashem itcha es habracha ba'asamecha. So in this case, Rabbi Shmuel says the same drasha. They're just arriving at it different ways. Rabbi Yitzchak is making a play on words. Ba'asamecha, samoy, hidden from the eye. The Rabbi Yishmael asamecha, the silo. The silo is normally something that is hidden away, and therefore you can't see it. We'll say now, what does this mean? What does this mean? So I remember I had a Rebbe who said something very interesting. I don't know that it's actually good advice, but it's something interesting to contemplate. He said, you should never balance your checkbook. This is back in the days when people balance checkbooks, right? You should never balance your checkbook exactly. Never know to the dollar how much money you have, right? Why? Because if you know to the exact dollar, you don't leave any room for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do any miracles. Now, again, like I said, I want to be clear, right? We are not dispensing financial advice, right? Like I said, I don't know that it's actually a good financial idea. But what was the Yesod? The Yesod is like this. The Ribono Shel Olam orchestrates miracles every single day. Sometimes in life, you have to leave room for the Ribono Shel Olam to do his thing. How does Kadosh Baruch Hu do his thing? So we'll say, so remember again, more often than not, we're not going to see open, overt, and dramatic miracles. More often than not, what's going to happen in life is HaKadosh Baruch Hu working his miracles in Teva, in the natural order of the world, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu working his miracles in the natural order of everyday life. That's what Rabbi Yitzchak and that's what Rabbi Shmuel are highlighting. Where does bracha come about? Bracha comes about in ways or in things that you don't see. And you don't see. So therefore, again, if you go ahead, and we're going to see this theme continued over and over, if you're too exacting, right? See, I will say, when a person, and this is actually very interesting in general, when a person micromanages all of the details, so the trait of a micromanager is he thinks that he is in charge of everything. So therefore, again, the Gemara says, if you're a micromanager, b'pashtos, you're not leaving any room for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to navigate. But if a person puts in their hishtadlus, puts in their efforts, and then you know what? Leaves over a little bit of, we'll call it ambiguity, or the unknown, HaKadosh Baruch Hu operates in the ambiguity. HaKadosh Baruch Hu operates in the unknown. Leave HaKadosh Baruch Hu a little bit of room in your life to be able to go ahead and perform nisim v'nefilos. You know, we'll say, Rabbi Soloveitchik comments, and he says that if you look, again, not a topic for today, but it fits into the ambiguity. Almost every single time HaKadosh Baruch Hu is described in the Torah, there's always an anan, there's always a cloud. There's always a cloud. HaKadosh Baruch Hu works in the clouds. HaKadosh Baruch Hu works in the fog. HaKadosh Baruch Hu works in the ambiguity. So therefore the Gemara says, bracha only comes about this thing that is hidden from the eye. Bracha only comes about in something that the eye doesn't see. Leave room in your life for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to work out all the nisim in the nefilos. And I will say, by the way, if one could adopt this mindset, it is the most beautiful and liberating thing, because often as we get older and we become more responsible, so we understand responsibility as I have to work out every single last detail, right? How are we doing this? How are we doing that? Right? How are we working out every single thing? And I will say, what happens when you try to work out every single detail? What happens? It is the most frustrating and anxiety-provoking thing. Why? Because you can't work out every single detail. You can't. So you have a choice. You could walk around life and you see people like this, like you see them and you look at them and you're like, oh, either like they're constipated or they're living with an incredible amount of stress, right? And usually it's the latter. And those are the people like, I gotta work out everything, gotta figure out everything. And if I can't concentrate, I can't this, I can't enjoy my family, I can't enjoy life. And they walk around there and they're impossible to be around. And they dump on you and they dump on this and they dump. I feel like I'm venting a little bit over here, right? But again, or, what you say is like this, you know what? I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put in my ishtalis. You can't sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. You got to put in effort in this world. But then I'm going to do my part, recognizing I can't figure out everything. and that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes over. In that area, in that space where I say, I've done my part, but I can't control all of these details, or at least right now I can't figure out all these details, I'm giving this to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That, says Rabbi Yitzchak, that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's miraculous intervention begins. That's where it begins. Where I say, I can't figure the rest out. When I get up to the cloud, in the ambiguity, that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu begins. But you got to leave room for that, Rose, because if you try to be the micromanager and work out every single thing, you're going to be anxious, you're going to be anxiety, right? You're going to be anxiety laden, you're going to be overwhelmed and unhappy in life. Stop, do what you can, and then leave the rest for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what it means when it says, the bracha of the Ribbon Shalom, where does it come about? It comes about in that which is hidden from the eyes, in that which you can't see. Incredible Gemara, Bose. This is a life Gemara. This is what we just learned is a life Gemara. Internalize this lesson. I will say you have to be clear, because sometimes people make the mistake and then they take like a laissez-faire approach to life. That's very bad. That's very bad. If you take laissez-faire approach to chinuch of your children, to the building of your marriage, to your finances, that's a debacle. So there is this fine line between being hands-off and micromanaging. And in that space, that's where you do your thing and you leave HaKadosh Baruch Hu room to do his. Tan Rabbanan, ha'holech lamures grana. Both says great Gemara. By the way, both say this Gemara that we're about to read is actually codified in Shulchan Aruch. This is fascinating. Holech lamures grana, right? Go rano. If a person goes in to measure their silos, right? I'm a farmer. I have a silo. I'm going in to measure my produce. So Omer, he says a tefillah. Yiratzim lofanecha Hashem Elokeinu shetishlach bracha b'maaseh yadenu. It's incredible. So again, I'm walking into my silo. I haven't done anything yet. So what do I say? It should be your will to send bracha in my grain. Now we'll say, why could I say that? Why could I say that? Why could I say that tefillah? Why? I don't know yet how much I have. So because I don't know what the balance is, right? I don't know what the bank account is. I don't know how much I have in the silo. I have no idea how much is here. So therefore I understand you don't do overt miracles. You don't do supernatural miracles. I got it. But you know what you can do? You can magnify or amplify the volume of my wheat, the amount of my wheat. I'll never know the difference. So I haven't counted anything yet. And before I count, that's the world of ambiguity. In the world of ambiguity, that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu works wonders. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make it rain. Make it rain. Go ahead and give me bracha. Good. Hischil lamud. I begin to go ahead and literally count. Lamud literally means to measure, right? So I begin to measure my grain. Omer, Baruch Hasholeach Bracha B'Kriyazeh. I say, blessed are you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who has sent blessing in this, literally in this pile. Now again, I will say, remember, because once I start counting, so then again, I can't ask for divine intervention with this, because once you start to count, it's a reality. Once it's a reality, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't intervene in the world, so to speak, in that way. But what I do say is, thank you Hashem for sending bracha in this pile. I will say, I just want to point out something absolutely amazing. So the kri, remember, the way it works with grain, we see this, we saw it actually in our Hilchos Shabbos Chabura. So remember, the way it would work is, you have piles of grain, right? And you count out the grain in piles, and then you put everything back into the silo. It's so profound that as you're counting the grain, what do you say? Thank you HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the bracha in this grain. You're saying this before you know the total amount of grain. Because the major yesod in life is to find happiness in what you have, even if you don't have as much as you would like. So as you're counting out the grain, you say, Ribono Shel Olam, thank you for this pile. Thank you. Do I have too much? Do I have enough? Do I have more than the neighbor, less than the neighbor, as much as I wanted to make? I don't know. But I know that this is the pile that I have, and I need to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything that I have. Gratitude is not relative. Sometimes we both say we make our gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu relative. If I have enough, according to me, what is enough? Then I have gratitude. Or if I have more, then I have gratitude. It's not how gratitude works. Gratitude is not relative. Gratitude ultimately, again, is objective. Thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for this pile of grain. While I'm doing it, I don't even know the total yet, but while I'm doing it, I take the opportunity to express gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for what I have in life. Madad v'achar kach berach. What happens if you first finished measuring and then you made the bracha? So harei zeh tfilas shav. So we'll say, so this is a prayer in vain, right? In other words, if you already, meaning what? If you already counted the grain and you know how much you have, you can't say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please send a bracha in this grain. That you can't do, because that's not how the world works. Why? Here we go. Lefi she'ena bracha Metzia lo b'davra hashakol v'lo b'davra hamador, because we'll say bracha is not found in something that is measured, or something that is, or weighed, measured, for lo b'davra hamanir, or something that is counted, ela b'davra samay min ha'ayin. Bracha is only found in something that is hidden from the eye. Shne'emar yitzav Hashem itcha es habracha ba'asamecha. So we'll say, so that's it. In other words, it's incredible. So when I go into the granary, before I've done anything, I can say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, work your magic. Work your magic. Give me bracha. And what I'm asking for is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make it even greater than what it is now. And before I know anything, when I'm still in the world of ambiguity, that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu can navigate tremendously. But once I know the amount, right? Once I know the balance, let's say if you know the balance on the checking account or on the savings account, you can't expect tomorrow morning to open up your Bank of America app and say, wow, that's incredible. There's another $1,000 in here. Who knew? It's not the way the world works. It's not the way the world works. Kadosh Baruch Hu exists in the ambiguity. So if you put in your hishtadlus and ultimately leave him room to navigate, that's where bracha comes from. But again, once I know, once I'm micromanaging, once it's exact, once I know what there is, then ultimately, again, that's not where the bracha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu exists. That being said, person has to exhibit and live an attitude of gratitude for every single pile that they have in life. Gratitude is not subjective. Incredible, Gemara, as well say. Incredible. There's so much more to say about it, but again, we'll have to leave it in Meretz Hashem for the siyum. Let's go back to Amar Shmuel. All right, we'll say back to halacha. Amar Shmuel, ksafim ein lem shmira el bekarka. Shmuel says the only way to guard money, in other words, if somebody deposited money with you, so the way to properly guard and safeguard that money is in karka. Is we'll say ultimately again to bury it. You have to bury money in order to make it safe. Amar Rava, which I will say, by the way, makes sense. It's almost like a little bit of a corollary. What we saw before. Rabbi Yitzchak said, if you're going to have money, what do you need? You have to have it in your hand. You have to have it in your hand. So that's really not shaykh for a shomer to go out and carry around the money in his hand all the time. So what can you do? You could bury money. Bury it. Bury it. So Rashi points out over here, Ein lem shmira di'im lo shamran v'gan v'pshiyahi. Now we'll say, understand the ramification of a statement like that. When you say that the only way to guard money is to bury it, that means what? That if you don't bury it, you're what? You're negligent. You're a posheya, and that's pshia. And if something happens to the money, you will be chayiv. Okay? Amar Rava, umodi Shmuel be'erev Shabbos ben hashmashos telo achrechuhu rabbanon. So also this is very interesting. So, however, as much as Shmuel said this, so comes along Rava and says, Shmuel agrees, if somebody shows up at your house on Friday afternoon and deposits money with you, that you don't have to bury it on Friday afternoon. Right? In other words, if it's right before Shabbos, so again, you could keep it in your house or put it somewhere safe until Motzei Shabbos, then you could bury it. However, again, if on Motzei Shabbos, you had enough time to bury it, but you didn't bury it, at that point, let's say for argument's sake, it takes 30 minutes to bury money. So after Shabbos, you have 30 minutes to get that money buried. If you don't go ahead and do that within the 30-minute window, at that point in time, now you're a posheya. Now you're negligent. Suppose an incredible qualification to this. But if the person depositing money with you is a Talmud Chacham, savar dilma mi boile zuze la avdalta. So you can leave the money unburied for a little bit longer. Why? Because the Talmud Chacham is makbid to make havdalah on a cup of wine, not just to go ahead and make havdalah in davening. So therefore, there's not a concern, but you have to think about maybe he's going to come back right after Shabbos, reclaim his money in order to buy wine for havdalah. So we'll say there's a whole marashah over here. I don't say everybody should be careful to make havdalah over a cup of wine. So why dafka Talmidei Chachamim were a little bit more makbid with it? Okay, the simple answer is havdalah is one of those things where technically speaking, you are yotzi with the havdalah that you have made in Shmona Esrei. That does take care of your obligation. So because of that, it must have been common for many regular people not to go out of the way to make havdalah on a cup of wine. Talmidei Chachamim dafka makbid for this. So therefore, I will say if I have money, so therefore just to play this out, Talmud Chacham comes and deposits money with me on Erev Shabbos. So the halacha is, you have to bury money to watch it. Erev Shabbos, Chazal didn't wear it matriach you. But Motzei Shabbos, you have to as soon as you have time. And if you wait too long, then you're negligent. However, if the person depositing money with me is a Talmud Chacham, then I can leave it unburied for a little bit longer on Motzei Shabbos, out of maybe not a concern, but just being vigilant. Maybe he's going to want the money back for Havdalah. So I will say, I think in this phrase also, it's such a profound statement. The if the person depositing money with me, savar, so I can leave it unburied. Why? Because maybe he's going to use his money. Now we translate avdalta as havdalah. I will say, but I think that there's another embedded message in this, which is, I will say, what does a Talmud Chacham do with his money? What does a Talmud Chacham do with his money? He makes havdalah. I will say, what's havdalah? To be mavdil literally means to make a difference or a distinction. What does a Talmud Chacham do with his resources? He recognizes that his resources in this world are for the purpose of making a difference in this world. Now let's say, if a person has money, person has material wealth, and wealth, however you're defining wealth, we'll say there is one mandate that a person has with that wealth: make a difference. Make a difference. Money is powerful because money affects change. Money, not the only thing that affects change, but if a person has zuzim, a person has money, zuzim are there for only one reason: la'avdalta, to make a difference. It could be to make a difference for your family, it can make a difference to your community, to make a difference to Klal Yisrael. But one thing is clear, that the whole chap of material wealth is to make a difference. And I will say, whatever applies to material wealth applies to every other resource that you have as well. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us the kochos He gave us? Well, see, just think about this for just a moment. Each and every one of us has various skill sets. Each and every one of us has abilities. Why? Why? For one reason: la'avdalta. La'avdalta. Avdalta means to make a distinction, or better stated, to make a difference. Let's say we are all here in this world to make a difference in this world. We are not meant to be spectators. We are not meant just to show up and observe. We are meant to make havdalah, to make a distinction, to make a difference in this world every single day. The Gemara phrases it over here as that's the Talmud Chacham. But the truth is, the great secret is, not such a secret, is that it's not just the Talmud Chacham. Every single one of us have that same sacred mandate, to use our money and to use all of our resources to make a difference in this world. Let's go back to Va'inna, the Shrichi Geshushi. The Gemara said, we'll say, so now, there are a lot of Geshushim. So you're like, what are Geshushim? Geshushim are people who take like poles and prod them into the ground. Because also listen to this. Now that we learned Bava, Metzia, Daf, Ben, Beis, and Madalev, I know that where do people hide money? Right, in the ground. So therefore, the Geshushim are the guys who walk around with poles, right, looking to see if they hit something hard, and they know that they got money. So stop hiding money in the ground, hide money in the ceiling. Okay. Who are Perumayim? Those are the guys also who take a pole and they hit the ceiling, right, to see if they're hitting anything. Elam shmira ela beni orvi, right? The only place to hide money, to deposit money, or to really hide money is in between the bricks on the wall. Amar Rava, umodo Shmuel b'kosel. And Shmuel says that it doesn't even have to be necessarily between the bricks. It just means that now the safe place to deposit money is in a wall. Va'idna d'shrichi tefuchai. But now there are people who poke the wall to try to find hollow spots in the wall. So we'll say, so now presently the only place secure to put money is either in the tefach, right in the wall, right by the ceiling, or the tefach on the wall right by the floor. So we'll say, so I guess these are places that people didn't normally look, or the Marshal also points out that sometimes these areas, for whatever reason, are not as hollow. Okay. Listen to this. Incredible. What do we learn? Chametz. Wow. I will say absolutely incredible. Beis Nisan, I will say. And already, again, we're getting in gear. Chametz shenaf alav mapoles, harukim avar. So I'll say the halacha is that if you have chametz, and let's say a pile of rubble fell upon that chametz, you don't have to move the rubble in order to go out and get that chametz and destroy it before Pesach, because chametz under rubble is like it's destroyed already. Rabbi Shmuel Silber says, Kol she'ein ha'kelev yochel lechapes acharav. Rabbi Shmuel Silber says, as long as the dog can't get to it, right? As long as the dog can't get to it, it's considered to be destroyed. The Gemara says, Tana, Kama chafifa sakela. By the way, how deep does a dog dig down? How deep does a dog dig down? Right, in order to go ahead and access something, gimel tfachim, 3 tfachim. And we asked, hachamai, mi ba'ina shosha tfachim olo? So we'll say, therefore, let's apply this to our money case. So we'll say, what we're saying over here is, if the chametz is under 3 tfachim of rubble, you don't have to try to access it. You don't try to get it and destroy it. Why? Because a dog is not going to find it, and therefore it's considered to be destroyed. So we'll say, what about by burying money? So we're going back now to the idea of burying money in the ground. How deep do you have to bury the money? Do you have to bury it 3 tfachim or not? Amarle hasam mishum reicha ba'ina gimel tfachim. Hacha mishum ichsuye me'ina lo ba'ina gimel tfachim. There's 2 different halachas. I will say by chametz, the reason 3 tfachim is because a dog could smell something. So therefore, at a distance of 3 tfachim, he's not going to pick up the scent, and therefore he's not going to dig down to get it. That's by chametz. Over here, when it comes to money, again, I will say it's not a din in scent. What is it a din of? It has to be hidden from the eye. So therefore, you do not go ahead and need 3 tfachim of depth to bury the money. V'kama. So how deep do you have to bury the money? Amra from Misichra, tefach, 1 tefach. Okay, that's what she means. So when burying the money, you have to bury it 1 tefach into the ground. Beautiful. Hu gavra da'afkid zuze gabi chavri. Supposed to listen to this. A couple of really great cases now. There was a guy who deposited money with his friend. Osvinu b'tzirfa du'orbani. And what happens? We'll say he put it in a hut, literally like in a straw hut. Rashi says, "Sirfa du'orbani bayis katan agul kamin kova sha'osin sayade ofos lerov." So we'll say, so let's just play this out. I give money to Ruvain. Ruvain went ahead and he placed it, I will say, in like a hunter's hut. People, Rashi points out, people who want to catch or to trap birds or different prey, they would have these little, like, if you could imagine, like a teepee almost, like a teepee type of hut, where they would just wait for the animals to come. Now I will say, now what's the chap of this place? So on one hand, it's semi-secure. On the other hand, small issue, read it in the fine print, they are highly flammable. Highly flammable. So the Gemara says as follows, Se'ignov. So what happened? Now this is where Ruvain put it, and my money was stolen. So Amar Rav Yosef, Afagav d'le'inyan ganvei nitirusehi le'inyan nura pshiusehi. Now I will say, now here's what's interesting. Even though this hut is considered to be guarded when it comes to thieves, when it comes to theft, right? This is a legitimate way to protect against that. Theft, it is considered to be pshia, it's negligence when it comes to fire. Since this is a highly flammable structure, it's considered to be pshia. I will say, now remember, what happened to the money in the end? The money, right, it didn't burn down. Rather, what happened? It was stolen. So what is this? I will say, so havet tchilas of pshia v'safa ba'ones chayiv. So I will say, this is a classic case of tchilas of pshia. It was negligent for Ruvain to put the money in a highly flammable structure. At the end of the day, it didn't burn down, it was stolen. So sofa ba'ones, we will say, what's the halacha with tchilas of pshia v'safa ba'ones? What's the halacha? Chayiv. We've seen this many times already before. Vigadam, others say, even though regarding flammability, ultimately again it is pshia le'inyan ganvi nitirusehi. Ultimately, again, for theft, it is considered to be proper guarding, and therefore tchilas pshia v'sofa ba'ones pater. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Tchilas pshia v'sofa ba'ones is chayv. We'll say, so we know that is how we paskin. If you do something that is negligent, but then in the end some type of extenuating circumstance occurs, so the shomer is chayiv since he was negligent at the outset. Therefore, halacha l'maisa in this case, where I deposited money with Ruvain, Ruvain put it in this tent, in this structure which is highly flammable. That's tchilas of pshia. It was stolen in the end, and that's an onis because it is a secure area. That's an onis. It doesn't matter. Tchilas of pshia, sofa ba'onis is chayiv. Ruvain's going to have to pay him back the money. Incredible. Hogavra, the afkid zuze gabe chavrei. So it was a great case over here. So what happened? I give money to Ruvain to watch. Okay, what did Ruvain do? Ashlaminu li'ime v'osvinu bekartalisa. Ruvain gave it to his mother to watch. Yeah, he's one of those, right? Ruvain gave it to his mother to watch, right? Just mamish, come on, Ruvain, take responsibility, right? So Ruvain gave it to his mother, and what happens? His mother put it in a chest. His mother put it away. So I'll say, so what happened? The ignov, the money was stolen from Ruvain's mother. So what's the shayla? Amar Rava, heichinai dinhu daini lahai dina. So what do we do in this case? Listen to this. Zil shlim. So on one hand we can say, okay, we should go to Ruvain, right? Ruvain, you have to pay. Did I skip? Who gathered the afkid? Oh, sorry. Hogaver the afkid zuzi gabi chavre. I'm sorry. So we'll say, so right, I deposit money with Ruvain. Sorry. Amrle havli zuzai. Right? And what happens? Ruvain says, I don't have him. I don't have it. Amrle. So I'm sorry. Amrle, I go to Ruvain, give me back my money. Amrle lo yedan hecha osvinu. Ruvain says, I'm so sorry. I can't find it. I don't know where I put your money. So we said, Rava said, Amrle kol lo yedana pshusahi zil shlim. Okay. Well, it's a pretty obvious case. Saying you don't know where the money is, that's pshia, that's negligence, and therefore alocha l'may, so Ruvain's going to be chayiv. Good. Hogaver davkinu gabe chavre shlamino li'imei v'asim v'kartelisa ve'ignov amarava hechi nidainu dayone lahaydina. Okay, so I'll say, so now, next case. I gave money to Ruvain. Ruvain gave it to his mother put it in the chest, right? Then it gets stolen. Rava says, what do we do with this? If we say to Ruvain, okay, Ruvain, you're the shomer, pay up. Amar beis. Amar kol mafkid al das ishta ubanav hu mafkid. We saw this Gemara before. Whenever you give money to a shomer, so what's the halacha? The automatic assumption is the shomer is going to be also sharing the responsibility of watching this with who? The members of his household. In this case, Ruvain's mother lives with him, or he lives with his mother, whatever the case is. And therefore, halacha l'maisa, as far as Ruvain is concerned, his mother is a competent adult. Therefore, Ruvain has every right to go ahead and give it to his mother for her to watch it. So therefore, if we try to make Ruvain chayiv, Ruvain's going to say, I'm not chayiv. So maybe we should say to Ruvain's mother, okay, you have to pay back Silber for the money, because after all, again, the money got stolen from you. Amra lo amra li delav dideininhu dak barinu. Ruvain's mother could say, listen, when Ruvain gave me this money, I thought it was his money. So therefore, again, that's my son's money. I put it in the chest. Had I known that I was watching deposited money, I would have buried it. But Ruvain never told me that this money was deposited with him. To which the Gemara says, so then we could go back to Ruvain. Ruvain, why didn't you tell your mother that the money wasn't yours, right? That the money was Silber's? Amar kol shekein d'chiamina le dididi ninhu tfei mizdarabu. Ruvain says, you don't understand. I actually did that purposely, because I figured if my mother thought it was my money, she was going to take even better care of it than had it been a total stranger's money. So therefore I will say, so you see what's happening over here? Who's chayiv, right? Who's going to be chayiv in this case? Ela Amar Rav says, here's the halacha. So Ruvain swears that he gave over the money to his mother. So we'll say, what that means is, Ruvain the Shomer says that he gave over the money to a competent adult who is the member of his household, which is something he's allowed to do. So that's what Ruvain does. And Ruvain's mother swears that she was responsible and kept the money in a chest, and it was stolen, upater. So we'll say, so bottom line in this case, I'm not getting my money back. Right? So bottom line, Ruvain's going to swear that he was responsible and he's exempt. Mother is going to swear that she was responsible and she's exempt, and therefore you're going to say, I bear the loss. Incredible. Both say, great case. There was an apotropos. What was apotropos? You remember again, I think we often use the word executor, but the truth is it's more than an executor. Really what the apotropos is like a guardian, right? He is someone who oversees the affairs of the Yisomim. So there was an apotropos. And what did he do? The Zaban Lahu Turali Yasmi. He bought an ox for the Yisomim, for the orphans. We'll say again, this wasn't like a birthday gift. This was just like an investment, right? He went ahead and he bought an ox for the estate. What happens? Umasre lebakra, and he gave it over to the shepherd. Bakra. Rashi says over here, lebakra mas. No, sorry. So he gave it over to the shepherd, right? To the guy in charge of the herd. He gave it over to the shepherd. So we'll say what happened? Lo havile kavi vishini. So we'll say here's what's interesting. The cow, the ox, didn't have molars or front teeth, lemechel, and therefore was unable to eat. The ox didn't have teeth, umis, and the ox died. The ox died. So the Gemara says, so Rabbi says, okay. They will say, who's going to be liable in this case? This is so interesting. So the Gemara says, right, so So I will say, maybe we should say the apotropos, right? Apotropos, right, guardian, you're responsible. So the Gemara says, the apotropos could say, Amr ana lebakra misartia. The apotropos could say, I'm responsible, I gave it over to the shepherd. I gave it to the shepherd. What do you want? I gave it to the shepherd. It's the shepherd's responsibility. So you go over to the shepherd. Shepherd, you're responsible. Listen, the shepherd says, listen, you need to understand how we operate over here, right? I don't give every ox individual attention. How are you, Shefala? How are you doing? How's it going with the rest of the herd, right? No. What do? I put him with the herd. I want to say, how do we feed the herd? Ochla shadayile. The way it works is, he's with the herd, right? The ox is with the herd. I throw food into the pen. It's enough food for everyone. Enough food for everyone. I had no idea that the deposited ox wasn't eating. How am I supposed to know? I don't go ox to ox seeing if they're eating. I take the food, I throw it into the pen, and hopefully everyone eats. So again, the apotropos is saying, it's not my fault, I gave it over to the shepherd. Shepherd is saying, it's not my fault, I did my job. I fed the herd. I did not know that this particular ox didn't have teeth and therefore wasn't eating. Michti bakra shomer sachar diasmihu ibayleli yune. I don't understand what I'll say. The shepherd is a shomer sachar. That's what a shepherd is. A shepherd is a shomer sachar. He is the shomer sachar of the yisomim. Ultimately, again, of the orphans. So we'll say, isn't it his job to investigate as to whether or not the shar is eating? So the Gemara says, "Ii kapseda hachanami." The truth is, the Gemara says, you're right. If we're talking about a case where there was a loss to the Yisomim, where the Yisomim suffered a loss, then Einachinami, that's what we would do. Then it really would be the shepherd who would be responsible for that loss. What's the case over here? The lekap sida diasmi. Both say, in the case in question over here is there's no loss to the Yisomim. How is there no loss to the Yisomim? The ox is dead. Listen to this. Dashkachuhu lamare detura v'shakal yasmi zuzimine. Because we'll say, what did we do? We tracked down the owner of this ox. And I both say, when you buy an ox without teeth, what is that called? That's called a mekach tos. That is called, I will say. Now, it's interesting, by the way. I guess it sounds like from here, I would have thought that when you buy an animal, that you're obligated to go ahead and look at the, I don't know, some type of dental exam. Chevra, this might be a new field. This might be a new field that, I don't know, I guess there's a veterinary medicine. But let's say, whatever the Metzia is, either again, maybe this is like a purchase from a different geographic location, so you're relying on the seller. Point over here is, the Yisomim aren't going to suffer loss. The Gemara is like this, Einachinami, the shepherd is a shomer sachar. So therefore, again, if the Yisomim were going to have a loss, then absolutely the shomer would be responsible because he is a paid custodian. But what's the case over here? The Yisomim aren't having a loss. Why not? Because we know who the seller is. So the apotropos, the Yisomim, are going back to the seller saying this is like a lemon, right? So you have to give me back my money. This was a mekachto. So therefore, the Yisomim are being made whole. They're getting back the purchase money. Elaman katon. Shabbos says, who's lodging the claim? If the Yisomim are the ones ultimately again are getting the money back, who's lodging the claim? Mari de tura katon. Shabbos say, who's lodging the claim? So now we'll say, who's lodging the claim? The one who's out the money. Who's out the money? The owner of the ox. The owner of the ox, right? The seller, the original seller. So the Gemara says, what is he taining? What are you talking about? We'll say, how could the owner of the ox have any kind of taina? He should have known that his ox didn't have teeth. My modina lay. So the Gemara says, Mei de yada de mekach taos havi. So we'll say, so ultimately, what does it mean? Ultimately, that we're informing him. We're informing him that it's a mekach tos. To which the Gemara says, no, what's the case? Sorry, we're going a little bit fast. Bisaf sira. Maybe we're talking about over here, we'll say a broker. I will say, so in other words, who sold the ox to the Yisomim? It wasn't the owner of the ox. Instead, who was it? It was a broker. I will say, now what's the chap with the broker? The zabin mehacha or mezabin lahacha. I will say, a broker doesn't really get to know the animal. Because what is a broker doing? A broker is really buying it from party A and selling it to party B. So I will say, in this particular case, the person who sold it to the Yisomim ultimately is someone who doesn't really know about the actual ox and what the ox is and what the ox is not. He buys it from party A and ultimately goes in and sells it to party B. Therefore, hilchach. So here we go. Resolution. Hilchach mishtabe ihu telo havayada. So therefore, I will say ultimately again, the owner of the animal swears that he did not know that the animal didn't have teeth, right? Lo havayada, u'mishalim bakra demei basar bezol. So at the end of the day, the owner is going to say, which was the broker, is going to say, I had no idea. So we'll say, who does pay? Interestingly enough, the shepherd pays. But the shepherd pays because he is a shomer sachar, but the shepherd pays ultimately again at a lower value. Excuse me, what is his lower value? The value of meat when it is sold at a discount. That's the amount that he's going to be chayiv ultimately again to pay back to the yisrael, or to the affected party. So stop over for today. Again, sorry, I went a little bit fast on the last case, but shkoyach. All right, Chevron Zoom, have a great day, everyone.